Did you know that you can now take 25% of your pensions as equity towards owning a home? That is what we'll be talking about today. I remain your host, your girl, Adeze Raji. And as usual, I've dragged in someone who will do justice to this topic. She heads our mortgage desk here at Access ARM Pensions. She's such a guru. Whenever my customers have mortgage questions, I just go and bring her quickly. So I brought her for you today. And she'll really touch on mortgage questions that you might have. And of course, if you have more questions after this, please feel free to reach out to us. But now, over to you, Yetunde. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, Azizi. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we'll be talking about mortgage. So tell me, what started the mortgage conversation in the industry as a whole?
Okay, so what we had noticed, and it was basically prevalent in the industry, we had an issue with real estate deficit. So we didn't have enough of housing supply. And for every Nigerian, housing is key. Even if some other expenses are not, catered for. One thing with an average Nigerian is to ensure that they have their housing sorted out. And because we have had RSA holders, retirement savings account holders, contributing over a number of years, the question has always been, how can I access part of my retirement savings account and use that to at least fund my housing need? And that was why the regulator, PENCOM, brought out guidelines sometime in September 2022 and gave, the opportunity for RSA holders meeting certain criteria and being eligible at some point, saying that they can actually access, part of their RSA balance and use that as equity contribution for getting a mortgage so that they can now be able to obtain a house. So that's what has happened over the years. Because prior to that period, what you've had is that nobody could really access their retirement savings account unless they have retired or unless they've been out of job for a minimum of 4 months, or if they have some health issues or for death benefit purpose. But with the guidelines being released in September 2022, what we've had is that we've had issues with people coming up to now use part of, their retirement savings account and use that as an equity contribution for them to be able to get their properties.
Very, very interesting because, this mortgage issue as a whole in this our nation is such a huge discussion that needs to come to the table. And when you really think about it, the only thing Nigerians think about is rent and school fees.
Of course.
Right? So once rent is coming closer, even the people in my house, their body will start, you will see everybody is readjusting because it's such a huge deal.
Yeah.
And what I always say to my customers is, the way to look at it is, you want to retire and you're not still paying rent, right? You want to make sure that at retirement, you're not still thinking about paying rent. At least you have facilities that can either make money for you or take away that stress of, paying rent. So tell me, I'm a customer and I want to access my 25%. What eligibility criteria do I need to look out for?
So there are a number of things that any RSA holder that wants to access the equity contribution from the RSA should be looking out for. One of the critical things is that you must have contributed for a minimum of 5 years or 60 months. So both you as well as your employer, because as you know, for every retirement savings account, you must have contributed as an employee currently 8% per annum per month, based on your basic housing and transport. And then for the employer, you should contributing 10% as part of the contribution, making a total of the 18% of those three points that I've mentioned. And once you've done that, you are eligible. Another critical thing is that so far you have over 3 years and above to retirement, you're good to go. So it's critical for you to look at that, and then you'll be able to determine that, you're eligible, and you can start the process. You can start talking to your PFA, you can start talking to us, and we'll be willing to help you out with the process once you have all of this in place. So the critical thing that you must be looking out for, you have you've contributed for a minimum of 5 years, you'd have over 3 years to retirement. And then another critical thing is that you must still be in active service, as well as you must still be contributing pension. So if you are in active service, for example, and your pension contribution is not up to date, you need to get, you need to have a discussion with your employer and ensure that, that is sorted out so that you can be able to take advantage of this great opportunity. Because what we have found in the past is that people have had, you've had to look at your funds whilst you are in active service and you've not been able to do anything with it. But now you have a great opportunity for you to use it and be sure that at retirement, at least you've sorted out your housing need and you don't have to worry about rent and things like that.
Interesting. Okay, so I think what I would then say is, let's presume that I have 25%. The remaining money, this is our Nigeria like this, that things are the way they are. Houses are so expensive. And okay, yes, I can get 25%. What about the rest of the money?
Okay, so I think we should start from here. We should look at how do you get a property?
Okay.
Typically, you would have your cash, so you can have an out-of-pocket payment and pay everything.
Okay.
Now, for those that do not, and considering the fact that housing is a bit pricey, you have to now look at
a bit. A bit.
So housing in Nigeria is a bit pricey. Well, depending. So you can always have, your mass market, you can have your mid market, and then you can have the luxurious homes. But the critical thing that you should be on the lookout for, especially, is that you have the funds. Okay. Now, for those that do not have everything, you have the opportunity for you to be able to obtain mortgage. Mortgage is a housing loan. Okay. So you approach your financial institution or the approved financial institution. We have about 32 primary mortgage institutions, and then for the commercial banks, all of them have been approved for them to be able to be part of the scheme. So you cannot just go to any financial institution. You have to contact your PFA. You have to contact Access ARM Pensions to be sure that that particular financial institution is approved for this purpose. So the bits that you don't have, you usually get as a mortgage finance. Now, if you can afford everything, you just take it from, you make an out of pocket. But the key thing is that if you want to use your RSA balance as equity contribution, you must use mortgage. It's very critical for you to use mortgage. So even if your 25%, which is the maximum that you're allowed to withdraw from your RSA, is adequate to get the home you're looking out for, what our regulator says and what the guideline says is that you must have mortgage in the mix. So it's very critical for you to have a mortgage application, have a mortgage approved, and that means that you're talking to the financial institution that would help you do that.
Interesting. Okay, so let's presume that, I do not have all the money, but I'm married. Okay, so what does my husband bring to the table is already the question we asked.
It's a great perspective, because one of the things that the scheme allows you to do is that you can have what we call a joint application. So for married couples, what you can do is that yourself and your spouse can make a joint application. Okay. But the key thing with that kind of arrangement is that the individual partners or the individuals within that that structure must ensure that they meet all the eligibility criteria. So all the documentations that will be required, each party has to have that in place. Okay. And then one critical documentation they will need for that purpose is their marriage certificate. So there must be a copy of a marriage certificate that shows that they are married. And then once that is done, alongside the other documentation that you will require for individual application, put that together, talk to your bank, talk to Access ARM Pensions, and then we'll be able to help you out with the process.
Okay. So what if, you mentioned something about having an age limit, right, to retirement. Who defines retirement age? Is it my company? Is it the nation? Is it me?
Okay, so according to the Pensions Reform Act 2014, the allowable legal retirement age is 50.
Okay.
But with a number of employers, the retirement age
Differs,
varies.
yes.
But what we have found to be the acceptable or most common retirement age is 60 years, especially with public, with ministries and public enterprises.
Yeah.
So you would have the 60 years as retirement age. With the private sector, most times it is documented as 60 years. Sometimes it might be 55, depending. But usually, and each employer would have a minimum, would have the retirement age, and that's what would determine whether you are eligible for this purpose or not.
Okay, so how do you then verify what my company calls retirement age?
So part of the documentation that will be required, for the purpose of applying for this, for you to be able to access 25%, a maximum of 25% from your RSA, is an employer letter. So it's an introductory letter from your employer stating the date you were appointed, stating your age, as well as the retirement age.
Interest.
Or the retirement date, actually, for us to be able to now do the computation, for us to know that, oh yes, you're still eligible.
That's quite insightful. Okay, so what I would then ask is, what makes Access ARM the valuable player? Why should I choose Access ARM if I want to do my mortgage? What makes you different? What stands you out?
Okay, so with Access ARM Pensions, what we have done since the beginning of this scheme, what we have done is to have like an enlightenment drive. So one of the things we've done basically since the beginning of 2023 was to ensure that all our clients are enlightened, the sensitization, everything concerning mortgages, in terms of the webinars that we've had, the meets that we've had. We have enlightened clients and even prospects all over. Another thing is that because we know how rigorous mortgage can be, now a lot of people they don't want to talk about mortgage. They don't want to talk about loans. But the thing is that for you to be able to have an asset like a property, it's critical for you to now talk about mortgage. So what we have done is to liaise with a number of partners. The first set of partners are financial institutions. We have those contacts, we have those partnership, we liaise with them, we know what their requirements are, so that the journey is easy for the client. Because a lot of clients want to walk away from filling forms, they want to walk away from providing documents. It's a headache. But for us, what we do is to provide all of this, for the clients, and make it a seamless process and make it an easy process for them. Another thing is that we also have property partners that we have partnered with. So that, they are ethical partners, trustworthy partners. Because one of the critical things that people suffer from whenever they are going property hunting is, how am I sure that I can trust this property? How am I sure that in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time it won't be demolished? So you need a property partner that has proven track record, that has the wherewithal to be able to get you the property, that has proper title, that has, is in a nice location and also can meet your budget. So ranging from, as I said earlier, the mass market in terms of affordable housing to mid-market and then to the premium or the luxurious housing. We have partners that are able to provide that. And apart from that, they also have an outreach that extends, across the country. So you're not looking at, of course, the major cities, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and Kaduna. You can always have, houses there. But apart from that, some people want to have something in their villages, in their towns and all that. So we have partners that will go all out to help you out with that. Then, because we have been at this over the years, of course, it's been a few years, but we have professionals. We have a dedicated mortgage desk that helps you out in ensuring that we know what the bottlenecks are. We know what the hurdles are. We know the kind of things that would cause a rejection. We know the kind of things that will cause an approval, that will bring about an approval. So we are able to educate the client. We're able to help the client in the kind of things that they need to provide so that they do not end up having their application rejected. These are the kind of things that we bring to the table. The turnaround time is super. I can assure you. Indeed, when we started the mortgage process, some of it was extending for like 6 months, 7 months thereabout. But we had a feedback from one of the primary mortgage institutions we were working with that, oh, I'm so surprised. The feedback was that they were really surprised about how short in terms of the turnaround time it took for us to get the approvals, because we scan through the documents that have been provided. We see some errors, we send it back to them quickly, members of our mortgage desk. So those are the kind of things that we bring to the table. If you want a property, if you want to access, your RSA for that purpose, we'll help you out with that in a seamless manner.
That's all very nice to hear. I mean, I'm excited. I hope you are, because it's holistic. Particularly our mortgage desk is taking so much time to put together a team that will work with you and for you, just to make sure that you have everything you need at the touch of your fingers. Just easily accessible. Documents can be scanned, or have conversations with you just to guide you through it and help you out. Yesterday, just as we wrap up, do you have anything to add or anything you want to maybe mention that we haven't talked about or touched on?
Yeah, I think the opportunity is there for everyone to use it. Once you're in active service, once you've been contributing to your RSA, why not use this? And then, with the economy, with our economic reality, there's a bit of inflationary, pressure. You just want to have something that over time would appreciate and you would be able to get real returns that can outperform, inflation. So one of the key ways to do that is by having real estate.
Yes.
And now the contributions that you've been making, you can make use of that. And that's why Access ARM Pensions is here to help you out with the journey, throughout the journey, and help you to ensure that this is easily done. Another thing I have to state is that for you to be able to access this, you are looking at a completed property. So you cannot use this to get a land.
Kakas?
No, well, let's just say property kakas, depending on the completion. Because one of the documents that will require is a valuation report. Then another thing is that you cannot use it to refinance an existing mortgage. Yes. So those are the critical things that we must bear in mind. But we would help you out with the process. We will help you to make sure that the journey is easy for you. We can assure you of that.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, this mortgage conversation is so important, because I say to my customers, look, if you're constantly feeling like, oh, what can my RSA do for me? This is it. Beyond just contributing, the way to look at it is you want to retire well. One of the ways to retire well is to make sure that you have a property, so that you're not paying rents in old age, as well as maybe
you can't even afford it.
Because inflation, where we are, your pensions, where it is right now, and all of that, it will just make more sense to make sure that you do everything that you can to get a home for yourself, and just know that is settled and rent is no longer such a, big issue for you. So thank you so much, Yetunde, for being with us today. You can always reach out to us on our touch points across our social media pages. We're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on Facebook. We have our website, accessarmpensions.com, and you can reach out to us through Penny as well. We talked about Penny, and we just hope to hear from you. Feedback, whatever questions you might have, share this with your friends as well, so that they can come on board the moving train. To be at Access ARM Pensions is to be thinking about your future, and that's what we do for you here. So thank you for being with us again. My name is Adeze Olaji. This is Pension Stable, as powered by Access ARM Pensions. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.